It's all quiet in the underground bunker. Doors closed, locks bolted. But the Great One isn't just resting on his laurels. He's making sure your weekend is even better by giving you his best. This is the best of Mark Levin.
It's always an honor to be here. I'll just tell you briefly, because I don't want this to be about me. I want to move on to big issues. Had a very bad tumble. I had to go to the hospital. It was an excruciating pain. Turns out that I tore my quad in my right leg. I didn't even know what the hell a quad was, quite frankly. And I've been basically bedbound for most of the time prior to this broadcast. And I'm not one to take these heavy-duty pain killers, so the pain persists. And I sit here literally in a wheelchair with my leg up. And I don't do that because I want a pat on the back of my head. I'm no hero. In fact, I'm furious with myself. But just so you know, I'm not out on the beach on a vacation and so forth, just taking it easy. I take this job very seriously, my responsibilities very seriously. I know there's millions of you out there, and we have a country to save. And the way we're going to do this now is tonight I'm going to broadcast for 2 hours, and then Brian Mudd will come in for hour 3. We'll see how it goes, and then proceed like that until I can do the 3 hours. Next Tuesday I have the surgery, so I won't be here. But please know that I want to be here. And so let me move on now. This debate. One of the things I've noticed watching the various shows and so forth is they talk about preparation for the debate, and when you have to spend 5 days, 7 days preparing for a debate, you're heavily scripted. You're not comfortable in your own thinking, in your own mind, in your own record. You're not comfortable in your own skin. You feel the need to have zingers and one-liners. You've got all kinds of people coaching you. When I went down and interviewed President Trump for Life, Liberty, and Levin for those 2 days, I can tell you that he preps his own way. He will talk to other people. He'll take advice from other people, but he's not sitting there with notebooks and studying and studying and studying. Now, traditional politicians criticize him for that. I don't criticize him for that. He's been president of the United States. He knows what he wants to do, and he knows what he has done. For him, the strategy needs to be how he goes about conducting the debate, not the substance. For Kamala Harris, it's the whole field. She has to discuss or be advised or scripted on not just the strategy, but the substance. Because what she is a Marxist Islamist who runs for president, this time anyway, as a chameleon. She'll be whatever she thinks the American people want. She'll talk about the future. She'll talk about, forget about the politics of old. You know, she'll talk about, she'll have all kinds of subliths and so forth, shibboleths. But the fact of the matter is, it's a tall task for people who keep telling us that Donald Trump has to expose her for her radicalism. Donald Trump has to catch her on her flip-flops. Donald Trump has to that. Donald Trump is debating. It's the job of the moderators to do most of this. And, of course, the moderators are enormously hostile to Trump. ABC News is probably the worst of all the news organizations, and that's saying something. But they have demonstrated that they are. Newsbusters just put out numbers that are unbelievable. I think it's 100% or 99% of the coverage is positive for Harris. 93% is negative for Trump. That's not a news organization. That's a propaganda operation. So there's really 3 levels of spin as I see this. Number 1, the pre-debate spin. It's all over the place. There are people there, bobbleheads who you've never seen. You don't even know who they are, telling you what to expect, trying to create the environment for this debate. And then there's the debate itself. And then there's the after-debate spin. And let me tell you a little secret. That's already cooked into the cake, as they say. The Harris people in the media pretty much already know what they're going to say, unless it's an utter debacle for Harris. They pretty much know what they're going to say about Trump and what they're going to say about Harris. And I suspect it'll go something like this. At Trump, somehow they're going to find that he was a misogynist. Somehow they're going to find racism, perhaps. Somehow they're going to find that he was rude, even if he's just taking her on. Because what Kamala Harris and the left do is they say women should be treated equally, except when they shouldn't be. And so if playing victimhood, if they feel that works for her, that's exactly what they're going to do. But here's what bothers me about the whole thing. The fact that everything rides on a debate, or for some people, everything rides on a debate. Kamala Harris has been around a long time, and she has been a joke. She has been an extremist. She has been lousy. She's accomplished not a damn thing positive for this country. She talks about what she's going to do when she's had 3.5, 4 years to do something. And she lies and lies and lies about the border. That's Trump's fault. The surrender in Afghanistan, that's Trump's fault. Are you kidding me? And the moderators aren't going to step in and say, no, wait a minute, you said this and you did that, which is what the moderators are there for. They're the referees. And it's like baseball, you hit a foul ball or you throw a strike, you expect the referees to call the game. Well, same with the debate. You expect the referees, the moderators, to call the game, but they won't. Remember the time they actually interfered when Romney was making a point to Obama, and they lied about what Romney was saying in order to help Obama? This goes on all the time. So all the commentators leading up to the debate are telling you what should be said and how it should be said. My only advice to the president would be stay focused. She says you're a convicted felon. There are things you can say like, oh, the idea that you are using that case, which is a horrendous miscarriage of justice, which will be overturned after this election, demonstrates to me how dishonorable you are. Just something like that. And you don't need to study this. You don't need to practice this. Just do it. Just do it. The border. She'll say, you, Trump, you left the border open and so forth. You know what I would do? I would have a 1-line or 2-line on that, and then they'd go on what the border looks like today under Kamala Harris. What a complete disaster it is, all the death that's resulted from it, the people who are murdered, who they have called, whose names they don't use, the women who are raped and sold into slavery, most of whom are women of color, that 330,000 unaccompanied minors are missing and they don't know where they are. Just hammer them. And same with this. They keep hiding behind it. I've tried to put the facts out, but even on our friendly Fox network, people are not using it. The facts are on this so-called bipartisan legislation. It would have made as a matter of federal code, matter of federal law, catch and release, lawyers for illegal aliens, health care for illegal aliens, 5,000 illegal aliens a day, which is almost 2 million a year. Now think about that. And of course, the gotaways, they can't count them because they're gotaways. There's many things that in that law that would repulse the American people. Talk about abortion. You should just say, you keep trying to say where I stand on abortion. Where I stand on abortion is with the American people. The states will decide. The Supreme Court has said so. I've said there will not be a federal law because the court said there cannot be a federal law. And there have been more abortions since the Dobbs decision than before the Dobbs decision. So I really don't know what your point is. And things of that nature. And what exactly have you done for women, Kamala Harris? You've destroyed women's sports. You haven't come to the defense of women on the border. There's many things you can say about all of this, and you don't have to study for 7 days to do it. Just a matter of staying focused, listening carefully to what is said. She will go on the attack. And I would just brush a lot of that aside. That's just me anyway. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin. making your weekend even better. This is the best of Mark Levin.
You know, I try to use logic and reason to draw conclusions. Of course, I'm a partisan for liberty, for the Constitution, for our country. But that doesn't mean you can't really analyze things and then set it up into the format to advance your agenda. And our agenda is a righteous agenda. Now, it's very interesting, having watched the debate and then watching the discussions all day long on cable, reading about online and in newspapers where some of the surveys and polls go. The media are ecstatic. They feel Kamala Harris had a knockout punch. They are ecstatic. And I'm going to tell you why the media are ecstatic. This, for Kamala Harris, was a debate for the media. That's her constituency. That's her partner. This was a debate for the media. She was trained over 5 days. You know, there are dog trainers out there. There's trainers for people to ride bicycles. There's all kinds of... Well, she was trained for this debate to appeal to the media because she's been ducking the media. The media is in her corner no matter what, but the media are losing face. So it was a debate preparation and a debate for her, for the media. She had her one-liners. She had her cheap shots. She had over 25 lies. We're going to get into that. And that's what her target was, the media. And that's why even the New York Slimes says today, but did she make any headway with people who are still on the fence, with people who still do not understand her positions? And the answer is no, or mostly no. So the media are celebrating her because she attacked Donald Trump repeatedly, viciously, underhandedly, lied about everything from Charlottesville to bloodbath and so forth and so on. And they got excited because the media, unfortunately in America today, are populated with Democrat Party activists, former Hill staffers, former Obama, Clinton staffers, Biden staffers, people who date them, people who cheat with them, people who are married to them. It's a real incestuous relationship. So the media are mostly a cesspool of reprobates. So they were thrilled. They were thrilled. But in order to win a debate and effectively win the presidency, you got to get votes. You got to get votes. As I sit here now, almost 24 hours later, I cannot tell you, you cannot tell me, nobody can say what her plan is for reducing food prices, what her plan is for reducing gasoline prices, what her plan is for tackling inflation, what her plan is for reducing the price of automobiles and trucks, what her plan is for reducing the price of housing, not handing out $25,000. How are you going to reduce the price? Now, these are 5 areas that are essential to virtually every family, to virtually every person. This is how you sustain yourself. This is what the economy, the core part of the economy, is all about. Food, mobility, gasoline, inflation, the value of money, the cost of things, housing, and vehicles. And you have no idea where she stands. Now, you and I do know that she's a radical leftist and so forth, but she has to conceal that. So she had every opportunity to present to the American people substance. She didn't provide substance on anything. She didn't say a damn thing about what she would do to improve the economic condition of working people, blue-collar people, middle-class people, poor people. Not a thing. Nothing. Zero. But the media were thrilled. But the media don't matter. Undecided voters have no idea where she stands on the economy. None. Again, she's a Marxist. She's a socialist. You and I know. She wants to nationalize health care and turn it over to the central government. We know where she stands on all these issues. But undecided voters, many of whom are the uninformed voters, they don't know about her past. They're not focused on her past. They watch that debate, and they walk away still dumbfounded. Now, I understand the reprobates on MSNBC and CNN. They don't care about any of that. People in the media make enough money. They can stuff their face with quiche. They can drive around in gas-guzzling cars while preaching electric vehicles. Inflation doesn't affect them. Housing prices don't affect them, and all the rest of it. They're so completely out of touch with so many of you. Completely out of touch. Like Mika Brzezinski, that was she was this, she was that, she was this, she was that, was absolutely fantastic. She didn't say anything of substance. Nothing. So who cares if she wins the media scoring on the debates? Who cares? She was going to win that no matter what. And so the media celebrate. Again, who cares if the media celebrate? Let's look at immigration. What exactly is her plan to stem the flow of millions, tens of millions of illegal immigrants into this country? Some of whom are terrorists, some of whom are murderers, some of whom are would-be murderers, rapists, you name it. From Venezuela gangs, MS-13, fentanyl killing 100,000 Americans a year. She said nothing. She would sign a bipartisan bill. That bipartisan bill isn't going to pass because it's not bipartisan, number one. Number two, it doesn't do anything except enshrine current policy. Well, current policy is the reason why we're having so much mayhem. Sex slavery of women, of children. Slavery like we haven't seen since the end of the Civil War, of mostly brown and black people. What's her solution? She has no solution. She's the problem. So again, I'm sitting there, maybe undecided voter, maybe a low information voter. I didn't get any information from her. She's supposed to be talking to me so I can figure out who I am going to vote for. This isn't a fashion show, if you will. Oh, I like her because, we're not running for student government here. Who is socially liked by the media or socially liked, and who cares? And the third big issue, at least to many people, crime. What is she going to do about crime? She didn't say a thing. Nothing. What is she going to do about crime? Nothing. She's not going to do anything. She does believe in defunding the cops. She did fund a group that provided money for criminals, the most violent criminals imaginable in 2020, to get early release. So what is she going to do about it? We don't know. So when it comes to the economy, when it comes to the border, when it comes to crime, she didn't say a damn substantive thing, let alone a substantive thing that most Americans want to hear. Nothing. Nothing. But she won the media debate vote. They think she's fantastic. Oh, my God. Did you see? What did that clown on CNN say? What is that guy's name? That Maoist guy. I forget his name. Van Jones. Oh, she spanked him and he came back for more. Okay, Mr. Mao. That's Marxist. Very good. These people are out of touch with you. They're not struggling. That's why they support her in the Democrat Party. They don't mind what's going on economically. They're unaffected by it. They could close down every steel mill. They could close down every assembly line in this country, and they wouldn't give a damn. Even though it would eventually impact them, doesn't matter. They don't care. They don't care. So when it comes to three crucial issues, the economy, immigration, and crime, she said absolutely nothing substantive. Absolutely nothing. Zero.
Mark Levin.
You're listening to the best of Mark Levin.
So I guess now we'll have 5 days a week, maybe 10 days, of Washington, the Washington media, the Washington grifters, the operators, the pollsters, the guests on network and cable TV, debating over whether there should be another debate, Mr. Producer. Now, ladies and gentlemen, does it matter if there's another debate? I don't care that the Democrats say they want another debate or not. Don't you want, at this point, the campaign to get serious? Donald Trump keeps talking about the issues. Kamala Harris doesn't want to get anywhere near the issues. The media don't want to get anywhere near the issues unless they're distorting Donald Trump's positions. And so you have all these commentators, they're the same damn people all the time. You have all these failed politicians like Chris Christie and other bloated blowhards who throw in their comments, Liz Cheney. Who cares? In the real world, in America's streets, at home at night when people are looking over their bills, or at breakfast when somebody's going off to work, or people are trying to figure out how to make ends meet, do you think they give a damn if there's another debate? Kamala Harris had her shot. And I know she's running around. She's giddy because she didn't fall on her face. She even surprised herself. But giddy about what? People who claim to be undecided voters are still undecided. They don't know what she stands for. Because it's a two-track effort on the behalf of that campaign, which is she's a Marxist Islamist, but she doesn't want to reveal her position on the issues because either she shows herself to be a flip-flopper, and she's not really a flip-flopper, she's a liar, or she has to be pressed on her positions. She doesn't want any of that. So they figure, look, she's winning anyway, but she's not. It's a dead heat. That's what it is. And look what they've done to Donald Trump for it to be a dead heat. In the lead up to this election, they've tried to throw him in prison. They've tried to bankrupt him. They've tried to smear his name. They've tried to force him to spend enormous sums of money of his campaign funds on legal fees. Look what they've done. They swapped out Biden for Harris, the most undemocratic move in American history. Harris slipped into the nomination process without even having an open convention. They did it virtually. Now she wants to slip into the office of the presidency. Now she claims, I want another debate. He's running. Who gives a damn what you want? But you and I, we know what she is. That's why it's important for us to spread the word. But I want to talk about some of these reprobates in the Republican Party who basically have left the party and endorsed Harris. And I want you to think about that a second. You have Republicans who have sought your vote, who have sought your support in the past, endorsing Kamala Harris. It was the gravest danger this nation has ever faced. Who don't care what's going on the border, the slavery, the rape, the murder. Who don't care about the fentanyl coming into this country. Otherwise, why would they endorse her? Who don't care about the wars going on and the fact that Kamala Harris is an anti-Semite Islamist who's going to withhold even more weapons from Israel. They don't care. They don't care about the waiter and the waitress and the other folks out there who are really struggling. The middle class. People who work with their hands. They don't care what 4 years of a Harris presidency would do to the country. So they want to contribute to the centralization of power. They want to contribute to the monopolization of our political party system. by further empowering the Democrat Party. There's a very good piece in a site called issuesinsights.com. Liz Cheney, who recently endorsed Kamala Harris, a person Cheney described as a radical liberal just 4 years ago, well, she flip-flops too, now says there's absolutely no chance that Ronald Reagan would support Donald Trump. I campaigned for Ronald Reagan in 76 and 80. I worked for 8 years in his administration. I wasn't his closest friend, that's for sure, but I worked with him and I knew him and the people who worked with him and knew him. I don't pretend to speak for Ronald Reagan, but she sure as hell can't. She's a Bushy. And I might add, you'll notice, the Bush people, the Romney people, the McCain people, although not all, by the way, but a lot, they're the ones who are undermining Trump and in some cases endorsing Harris. A few Reaganites here and there, but the Reaganites, all in all, support Trump. Attorney General Edwin Meese, along with Attorney General Mukasey, filed a brief in support of Trump and against the independent counsel, the very existence of the independent counsel. Most of the Reaganites I know are supporting Trump and actively doing so. And so they point out there she has it exactly backwards, that is Liz Cheney. It's people like Liz Cheney and the cabal of other never-Trumpers who never would have supported Reagan when he ran in 1980. This is very interesting because I said this in preparation for my show coming up Saturday night on Fox, which will be a brand new show. Donald Trump doesn't stand for any of the things that Ronald Reagan did, Cheney said. It's another place where I would urge my Republican colleagues to really look at Donald Trump's policies, to really look at the danger that he presents, Cheney said in an interview on ABC News this week. And notice, they can't get enough of her on the media. She and the Kate Mayorka, Chris Christie. Cheney's claim that Reagan didn't support Trumpian policies is demonstrably false, and I agree with that. In his first term, Trump enacted pro-growth tax cuts, started eliminating regulations, built up the nation's military after years of neglect by Democrats. He appointed conservatives to the Supreme Court. He championed the working class. In Reagan's first term, he did likewise. Reagan called the Heritage Foundation 1980 mandate for leadership a massive guide to conservative policymaking. The Bible for guiding his administration, and handed it out to every cabinet official. Trump enacted 2/3 of the recommendations contained in the Heritage 2016 mandate. Trump enacted protectionist tariffs. Well, so did Reagan. In fact, Reagan imposed a 100% tariff on certain Japanese electronics in 1987 and forced that country to accept restraints on auto exports. He put limits on steel imports, raised tariffs on Canadian lumber, and so on. What's more, Trump signed free trade deals with friendly countries and had several in the works at the end of his term, which Biden abandoned. And Reagan was hated by all the same people who hate Trump, the media, Democrats, establishment Republicans. And I want to remind you, it took Reagan 3 shots to become the nominee of the Republican Party. He was blocked by these very same Bush-Cheney type milquetoast RINO Republicans. He was blocked. They said he couldn't win. He won 2 of the greatest landslides in American history, but he had to fight his way through the Republican establishment and ruling class. He was described as a dangerous right-wing radical, a friend of tyrants, a heartless budget cutter. They said he was woefully unprepared to be president and played fast and loose with the facts. And when he was running against Jimmy Carter, Reagan was hardly all sunshine and roses, as he's often depicted. During that campaign, Reagan denounced mediocre leadership that drifts from one crisis to the next, eroding our will and our purpose. Even now, the left despises Reagan, calling him a hyper-nationalist whose worldview grew out of the paranoia jingoism of post-war America. It led him to support fascists in Central America and see moderate liberals like JFK as dangerous radicals, quote-unquote. Witness to the reaction to the Reagan movie. Elitist movie critics, the sort of people never-Trumpers want to rub elbows with, uniformly panned Reagan. Just 20% of its critics liked the movie, according to Rotten Tomatoes, because how dare anyone make a movie that treats Reagan with respect? But moviegoers loved it. 98% gave it a thumbs up. There's also the fact that the vast numbers of never-Trumpers, who all claim to oppose Trump because he was abandoning Reaganism, have since outed themselves as not just establishment Republicans, but straight-out liberals. They supported Biden, turned a blind eye to his disastrous presidency, and now backing radical liberal Harris. These people are not conservatives. They've never been conservatives. There's no question that Reagan was more charming than Trump, she writes, or they write, had a better wit and a more pleasant demeanor, unlike Trump and every never-Trumper as well. Reagan didn't attack fellow Republicans, and he was much better at winning the crowd. Trump's approval rating is almost never top 50%. Nevertheless, we have no doubt that had they been around in 1980, the never-Trumpers of today would have denounced Reagan in 1980 for the same reasons they are denouncing Trump, and would have urged Republicans to re-elect Jimmy Carter. I believe this 100%. 100%, because Reagan was opposed by the Republican establishment. They fought him in California. They fought him for the presidential nomination. They all got behind Ford. Bush ran against him in 1980 to try and derail him, and almost did. But Reagan won on top. And even after he left office, Bush 41, kinder and gentler, raised taxes. He reversed course on the Reagan agenda, and he destroyed his presidency. As a matter of fact, he was a one-term president. He got elected because of Reagan's coattails in the first place. All that said, the same Republican establishment, the same Republican ruling class, plus the Democrat establishment and the Democrat ruling class, plus the Democrat Party billionaire oligarchs and some of the Republican billionaire oligarchs, not many, but some, they've all coalesced. They're all colluding. And they have been from day one to destroy Donald Trump by hook or by crook, by lawfare, by impeachment, by personal smears, by bankruptcy, and even now. And even now.
Mark Levin.
The Great One makes your weekend even better. This is the best of Mark Levin.
You know, I really wish, I guess I'm a bit of a Pollyanna, but I know it won't happen, that the media would spend more time focused on the issues of the candidates rather than on debates, and polls. I just do. The polls right now tell us nothing. It's tied. The power rankings they talk about. 2 states have slipped from lean Republican to now even. Why? Because they moved 1.5%? I mean, half of it doesn't even make any sense. New York Times says undecided voters are still undecided after the debate, but Harris numbers moved ever so slightly. Okay, so what does all that mean? Nothing. Nothing. This is an election about leadership. It's an election about substance. It's an election about we, the people, what we want. In Washington and New York and L.A. and their media, this is all they can talk about. It's all they can talk about. It's all anyone will talk about. It's pathetic. It's almost like they fill time. And so while others will spend mind-numbing time debating the debates, whether there should be debates, not debates, we just had a debate, and Kamala Harris did not reveal herself. She didn't reveal herself. So we should have another debate so they can run around and say, oh, she won another debate. Who cares? Now, let me tell you a little secret. You talk about these things. I'm not hyperbolic. I tell you the truth. I use my noggin. I use my knowledge of history and so forth. There's much at stake in this election, including how you get to raise your children and grandchildren. That's correct. Including what kind of home you're free to purchase, because they don't want to build any more single-family homes. Including what kind of automobile you'll be able to drive. They do not want you driving a vehicle that uses gasoline and oil anymore. This will change your lives in an exceedingly negative way. They're going to put millions of people out of work as they deindustrialize this country, degrowth this country. Any labor union boss in the private sector who is endorsing the Democrats is endorsing the suicide of the jobs of the people they represent, all blue-collar workers. They will destroy trucking because it's impossible for trucking to be efficient with massive batteries that take up a third to 40% of the vehicle's capacity. It just doesn't make sense and it won't work. You can expect shortages, and that includes shortages of food because central decision-making, central planning, re-engineering society fails every time, and it will fail bigly in the United States of America. You think you have it tough now, you're going to have it much worse. You're going to have significant inflation. Those pensions you have, whether they're Social Security or whether they're private pensions or both, they'll be meaningless. Meaningless. Medicare will go broke. It cannot possibly keep up with the expenses that are created by government-run health care, which includes everybody and also includes illegal aliens. Medicare is an insurance program. It's not intended to be a welfare program for every Tom, Dick, and Emilio who comes over the border. But there you have it. The voting system will be a joke. It'll be a Potemkin voting system. They control all avenues of government. They will make sure that illegal aliens become citizens, that they get to vote, that they have chain migration, and that the nation is fundamentally altered from within without any chance, elections or no elections, of fixing it. The bureaucracy will get twice the size, with twice the muscle. The IRS will be used as a domestic muscle operation to threaten every small business, to threaten every citizen if they don't comport and comply with what the government tells them to do. In terms of free speech, you already got a little taste of it under Harris-Biden. Your speech is going to be monitored. They will determine whether it's misinformation or disinformation. Your social media posts will be monitored, tracked. Data will be kept on your public comments and your public thoughts. It's already started. That's what's going to happen. This is totalitarianism. There are different levels of totalitarianism, but it is nonetheless totalitarianism. It isn't what the nation was founded upon. We're supposed to be a free people with free will. Read your Declaration, read your Constitution. The central government was supposed to have a very minor role. This is why I don't give a damn anymore about these debates over debates or the polls or anything else. Everything is on the line. How you raise your children and grandchildren. Where you can travel. How far you can travel. What you can use to travel. Where you can live. What kind of home you can have. I mean, everything is on the table. And most of this will be done without legislation, because legislation, you see, is a little too messy. They actually have to get votes. It'll be done through the federal massive bureaucracy. The Leviathan, as one great writer put it, the administrative state, as most intellectuals put it, but the tyranny of a massive bureaucracy that will issue regulations as if they're laws, that will have the power of laws, that will have penalties, fines, and jail time, strict liability. And you will have no say whatsoever. It won't matter if you vote. It won't matter if you protest. It won't matter if you lobby your member of Congress. None of it will matter. Things are changing very, very fast in this country, and for the worst. Very fast. You're going to see, with the election of the Democrats, the growth of anti-Semitism in the streets. Democrats, Jewish Democrats, who vote Democrat, you're voting for your own suicide. There's simply no question about it. The universities and the colleges will continue to be breeding grounds of Marxism and Islamism. So far, under the Democrats, they've done nothing to cut off the funding from Iran, Qatar, Hamas, and other enemy terrorist states and organizations, and they have no intention of doing it. It'll get worse. The open borders will continue to import people who hate America, will continue to import people into this country who will not follow our laws but are criminals coming out of the prisons of third world nations. You see what's happened simply in the last 3.5 years. We've never seen anything like it. And what will happen in the next 4 years will be appalling. And so they want us to focus on debates about debates. They want us to focus on polling. the power numbers, or whatever it is. Ladies and gentlemen, if you allow the media to pull you around by the nose, to focus on everything and nothing that matters, we will lose. And we will lose our liberty. And we will lose our lifestyles. And I'm not kidding. She talks about a wealth tax. A wealth tax. Do you think a wealth tax is just for the wealthy? Is that how it works in Venezuela? Is that how it works in Cuba? Is that how it works in North Korea? Of course not. You want to control a country, you control the people. The people in our country are the middle class. If you have a wealth tax for a billionaire, you can have a wealth tax for a cop, for a firefighter, for an electrician. Nothing will stop it. Once it starts, it doesn't stop. There is no end. A wealth tax on your home. Pay up or you lose your home. A wealth tax on your bank account. You either give us 30% or you lose your bank account. Pay attention, America. I know what I'm talking about. I don't care. I don't care what these chihuahuas nipping at my heels have to say about me on their stupid-ass websites. I don't care. If people want talk radio to be more about jokesters and tap dancing and all the rest of it. No. This is a crucial time in American history. Right now, right here, this place. This place. This is Radio Free America. Right here. Everything's on the line. Everything.
Mark Levin.
We're giving you nothing but the best of Mark Levin.
I'm going to say something a little different. You ready? Ready, Mr. Producer? I want you to have a mindset in this election that is selfish. What is in the best interests of your family? When you go to vote, I want you to think about what is in the best interest of my family. Who is going to create an environment, create circumstances where I can achieve, where I can be a breadwinner, where life is not so difficult, where, yes, we have bills, but I'm not worried every time I open them, that I can pay down my credit card. Who is going to help me? I'm not talking about government welfare handouts. I'm talking about hard-working Americans who don't rely on government for handouts. The people who make this country run. Not the country that is the government that runs the people. I want you to be selfish. Who can I vote for who will tame inflation? Who will I vote for who will bring interest rates down? Who can I vote for who will just make life a little bit more pleasant, a little bit easier? Who can I vote for who I know will try to address what's going on in our streets, the criminality? Who can I vote for who I can trust to seal that border so my kids or my grandkids or others don't die from fentanyl? Or to put an end to this horrendous slavery of children and women on the border? Who can I vote for to help us? To keep Venezuelan gangs out of our apartment complexes? To keep MS-13 off our streets? Who can I vote for who will improve my way of life and the way of life for my children? Who can I vote for who will help improve the educational standards in our schools? Who will make school choice possible so my children and my children's children have a shot at a real education, at a real school? Who can I vote for who, rather than trying to figure out ways to tax me, to tax my labor, will cut my taxes? Who did it before and who's talking about cutting right now? Tips. Donald Trump just announced that he will cut all taxes on overtime, all taxes on Social Security, all taxes on tips. That's aimed at average Americans. That's aimed at working people who are having difficulty making ends meet. So I want you to think about this in a different way. Who can I vote for who will help my family and me? Now, here's the thing. I don't want to get philosophical about this because I want to stay granular if you don't mind. By doing so, you'll be helping the nation. By doing so, you're a patriot. That is, you'll be voting for somebody who'll bring normalcy back to the country. We have abnormalcy going on in our streets, in our colleges and universities. And who can I vote for who will get these colleges and universities under control now that they're full-throated Marxists and Islamists, who will cut federal funding? Who can I vote for who will stare down the communist Chinese before World War III breaks out, who will help Israel defeat its terrorist enemies? Who can I vote for who will put an end to this insanity that men are women and women are men, and there's no such thing as women's sports, and only use the word women if you're talking about Kamala Harris, and then under no circumstances? Who can I vote for who will bring safety, prosperity, opportunity to my family and me? Kamala Harris talks about the future because she can't talk about her past. It's disastrous. Talks about the future because she can't talk about her politics. It's a disaster. Talks about debating on debates. Who cares? Talks about all kinds of fluffy, nebulous, ambiguous, meaningless nonsense. Throws around words that have been poll tested. They talk about appearances, how she appeared, how she handled herself. I don't give a damn. Do you really? When you sit down to pay your bills, do you really care? And so I want you to have a different mindset this election. A mindset that nobody else is suggesting to you. You have every right to vote on how this individual, this president, would affect your life, because they do. How they'll affect the financial well-being of your family, because they do. It will help you put food on the table and gasoline in your car without having to make difficult choices, because this vote matters. It won't make it so difficult and complicated to decide where to send your kids, or where they should decide, to go to school. And a lot of people are now dealing with that quagmire. Normalcy. We want normalcy back. That's what we want. We don't want CRT. We don't want DEI. We don't want the 1619 Project. We don't want the Marxists in charge and the Islamists in our streets. Burning the American flag, if I may place a footnote on all of this, the Supreme Court has held and will hold that that is constitutional. But you can, in fact, amend the Constitution. One of the people who sought to amend the Constitution to punish burning the American flag was Orrin Hatch. Orrin Hatch was, in many ways, a constitutional expert. He spent 40 years on the Senate Judiciary Committee, and this was his passion. And he would introduce this amendment repeatedly. We can get behind that amendment. The American people don't want it. They don't want it. The states don't want it. They don't want it. But the idea that it's not a worthwhile endeavor, oh, you can't do that. It's unconstitutional. Well, Constitution has an amendment clause. Actually, one clause, two methods for amendment, as we've talked about, Article 5. So that's a footnote. But I want you to vote in a way that is quote-unquote selfish. Let me tell you something. On the other side, the Marxist Islamist side, the Democrat Party side, the left, they always vote for what they want. Here's the difference. They not only vote for what they want, they vote for what they want to take from you. That's the difference between you and me and them. I don't want to take anything from them. They earn it, they should keep it. They want to take from you, even though they haven't earned it. And their masterminds want to take from you so they can redistribute wealth, rejigger society, change human nature. This is the nature of totalitarianism, whether it's dressed up as Marxism, whether it's dressed up as fascism, whether it's dressed up as Kamala Harris-ism. You need to be selfish in this election. You need to not worry about all the gibberish and the blabbermouths who go on about debates. I don't mind discussing debates once they've occurred, Now we're supposed to debate whether there should be another debate. It's like the State of the Union, where you spend 10 days talking about what's going to be in it, what might be in it, did this guy pick his nose or scratch his ass or whatever. Who cares? And nobody can remember the last State of the Union. Can you remember it, Mr. Producer? Can anybody tell me 3 great things, 3 profundities that came out of the State of the Union? No! And nobody's going to remember this debate in 2 weeks either. It's the issues. Kamala Harris won't tell you, working Americans, middle-class Americans, she won't tell you what she stands for because she's going to steal your money, she's going to regulate your life, she's going to control what's in your house, what kind of house you have, and she's going to come between you and your children. That's what the teachers' union is all about. That's what she's going to do. That border's going to be wide open. It won't matter that there's Venezuelan gangs here, that they take over your neighborhoods. It won't matter that MS-13 is here. That's perfectly fine. You know why? Marx told us why. That's the price you pay. That's the price you pay for Marxism. A little bit of despotism, he said. It's the way it goes. Because they want to empower their party once and for all. A monopoly party once and for all. How do I know this? California. That's how I know it. She comes out of that entire political environment. A Republican can't win their statewide. Sorry, California Republicans, if their life depended on it. A state that elected Ronald Reagan? Ronald Reagan, we get 30% of the vote, 35% of the vote in California today. Why? Because it's been depopulated of the people who used to live there. It's been repopulated and, quote unquote, as the New York Times put it, reshaped by immigration, mostly illegal immigration, chain migration. They changed the voting system to make it much, much more difficult for Republicans to win, because once they had some control over the instrumentalities of state government, they used it to crush the other party. So they have what I call these Potemkin elections, where you have opposition, but not really. So there's a Republican Party, there's other parties, really good people who run for office. I'm not trying to dispirit people. I'm telling people the truth all over the country. And we go through the motions. Is that what you want for America? You want California for America? Well, if you elect Kamala Harris, this is what she comes out of. This is her environment. That's what you're going to get. And I'm going to tell you something. 4 more years of this, we can't survive it. The country will be completely different. That's the way it is. It's going to be completely different. And because they will change the instrumentalities of government, they will change the institutions of government, they will pack the courts with Chunkin types and people like that, Mershon types. They will pack the courts. There'll be nowhere to go. They want to change the Supreme Court, turn it into a Democrat Party Politburo so it rubber stamps whatever they want. Folks, listen to me. I'm sure I've got some PDs out there saying, you know, this guy, he's too negative. We need to replace him with a happy face. I don't know. Possible. But listen to me while you can, because I'm telling you the truth.